Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater, Oklahoma. The Big 12 debut of the most talked about freshman in college basketball. Cade Cunningham and the Oklahoma State Cowboys welcome in the Horned Frogs of TCU. From our home to yours, I'm Rich Hollenberg in St. Pete, Florida. From the Dallas Metroplex area is Fran Fraschilla. And Fran, speaking of the Metroplex area, that's where Cade Cunningham is from. And the top high school recruit coming into college hoops has done nothing to diminish his bright start.
He's been as good as advertised, Rich. No doubt about it. 6'8", 220 pounds. He's a great teammate. But first of all, let's take a look at some of those attributes. He is a good shooter, maybe better than some people thought. Knocking it down so far. That big body allows him to get to the basket with some power and strength. He's also a terrific passer. He's got a great IQ for the game, and that manifests itself on the defensive end just as well. The best thing about this kid, he is a great teammate so far.
So the Cowboys in their Big 12 opener taking on the TCU Horned Frogs. They're undefeated at 6-0. Actually a 10-game winning streak going all the way back to last season. There's the TCU Horned Frogs in their road purples. Your officials are Gary Maxwell, Kelly Self, and Rick Crawford. And we're underway with the visiting Horned Frogs controlling the opening tip. Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineups, brought to you by Cade Jewelers. 7 games in, Jamie Dixon has already started 10 different players, Fran. They missed their first shot, and here's Cunningham with the ball.
Watch the power to the basket. It's a little different when you got Kevin Samuel in the middle there at 6'11", the all-time shot blocker for TCU.
Here's a look at the Cowboys starting lineup. Cade Cunningham and Isaac Ice Likely make up one of the most dynamic backcourts in college hoops.
Two of the youngest teams in college basketball, Rich. That's what's so much fun about watching these teams.
And we have our first turnover with about 30 seconds gone by. It's going to be TCU basketball. We said that Oklahoma State is 6-0. TCU off to a pretty good start too, 5-2. In Jamie Dixon's 5th season as the head coach of his alma mater.
Coming off a destruction over the weekend of Texas A&M in Fort Worth. Really impressive.
R.J. Nebhart, number 22 in purple, throws it out of bounds. He's the 3rd leading scorer in the Big 12 coming in.
Well, we definitely have a decidedly Dallas-Fort Worth field tonight, as you see Mike Boynton, the terrific young head coach, 4th year. Brooklyn, New York native.
Mike wearing that John Thompson towel. Pay homage to the Hall of Famer who passed away earlier this season. And you talk about that win streak, Fran. They really struggled at parts last year, but Mike and the company turned it around at the end of the season, now with the 3rd longest active win streak in college basketball.
It was a tale of 3 seasons last year, Rich. They were 7-0. Early ranked, and then Isaac Likely contracted mono. Late in the year, they got back their mojo, and they were very good. And this guy with the ball, Likely, is a linebacker playing point guard.
Yeah, he is running downhill every time he gets his hand on the ball. Shot goes in, and that's the first points of the game. Oklahoma State up 3-0.
TCU's going to shoot a lot of threes tonight. And certainly Oklahoma State aware of that. Just about everybody on the roster except for the big fella Samuel can knock him down from deep.
A lot of deflected basketballs in the first 2 minutes of play. Both of these teams trying to get at it and get in each other's jerseys in the early going. And as you mentioned, we'll expect to see a lot of that, Fran, because there's a lot of players on the floor at any given time very familiar with themselves from that Metroplex area.
No doubt about it.
Well, 3 straight possessions with a stop for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They call that a kill, Fran.
That's part of their defensive mantra. If they want to average 6 kills a game, it's something that motivates your team defensively. You talk about it in TV timeouts. And certainly a lot of teams use that. And of course, defense is in the DNA of this program going back to the late Mr. Henry Iba.
Here's Mike Miles, tried his first shot, but it's deflected out of bounds. Well, we talked about the kills. It's part of the bigger goals board, and a lot of teams have things where they write the intangibles down, deflections, things like that. This is at the core of what Mike Boynton wants to do defensively.
Well, they're undefeated so far, and they've reached their goal 4 of the 6 times, so it's certainly working, but more importantly, it's part of the mindset of this team.
R.J. Nembhard with his second bucket, and he's got 5 in the early going.
Yep, you're watching one of the most improved players in the Big 12. He's a junior now, R.J., out of Keller, Texas, right in the mid-cities. And we were talking to him yesterday. He played against Cade Cunningham when Cade was a freshman at Arlington Bowie.
Cade's shot off to the right, but it's tracked down by Likely. 3 minutes gone by. Boone with the miss, gets his own miss, puts it up and in. 2 buckets for Keelan Boone, the 6'8" sophomore out of Tulsa.
He gets his work done inside. His brother Caleb, although Caleb's improved his rebounding, he likes to spend a little more time on the perimeter.
So right now it's R.J. Nembhard 5 and Keelan Boone 5 with 16:40 to go in the first half.
Good ball movement right there. You see R.J. Nembhard, not a great shooter, shooting about 30%, but his scoring numbers are up. You can see the improvement we talked about, and just a great young man. We talked to him yesterday, and he talked about how much Desmond Bane helped him as a younger player when R.J. came into the program. Desmond now a first-round pick, playing for the Memphis Grizzlies, left this program as the 3rd all-time leading scorer in Horned Frog history.
Yeah, they were roommates in R.J.'s freshman year, and a lot rubbed off on Nembhard. There's an easy bucket close to the rim, and it's a 7-5 Oklahoma State lead.
Good strong drive that time by Likely, dropping it off to another impressive freshman, M.A. Moncrief out of Toronto. Sweet.
Behind the back in the dunk.
How about
a highlight in the first 4 minutes?
Yep. This guy, you know, Rich, he's not scoring like he did a year ago when he needed to. He's much more of a facilitator because of the Cade Cunningham being in this program. But Ice Likely is a great teammate. Watch this pass right now. Good finish as well at the other end.
So Keelan Boone off to a smoking hot start, and that's good enough for an SC Top 10 nomination. He has an early 7 points and a chance for 8.
Yeah, what you like about the Boone twins, we'll see Caleb soon enough, is that they put on about 30 pounds each since they played in high school in Tulsa. I first met them, they were about 170 pounds each and 6'7". They're filling out nicely.
Inside, and a foul is called with 15:51 to go. It's our first media timeout of this Big 12 opener for the Cowboys against the Frogs. Coming up, foes tonight, but friends forever. More on Cade Cunningham and Mike Miles when we come back. Exclusive presentation of college basketball. Metroplex area going to get a lot of love in this game between Oklahoma State and TCU. The top 2 scoring duos in the Big 12 right now all resided within essentially a stone's throw of each other outside of Dallas. Nembhard and Miles for TCU, Cunningham and Likely for Oklahoma State, and Cade Cunningham and Mike Miles have known each other and been best friends, Fran, since 3rd grade.
No question, Rich. The Dallas Metroplex not only has great high school basketball, it has great grassroots basketball. And these 2 guys literally go back that far. They're still very close friends, although they're wearing different uniforms tonight. But the basketball in this area, and of course I've lived here now for almost 2 decades, is as good as any place in the country. When you think of some of the great players that have come out of this area, it's remarkable, but the talent level continues to get better. Great coaches. It's one of the few places in the country where you can actually, a varsity coach can practice his team 9 months out of the year. And these kids are really well schooled, and of course Cade Cunningham is as fundamentally sound as you'll get.
Cunningham missed that 3. He has yet to get in the scoring column so far. It's been the Keelan Boone show. 8 points already of the 10 Cowboys scoring. And Fran, since you know so much about this Dallas, Texas, and Metroplex area, I put it to you. Give me your all-time Metroplex team, and this is what you came up with.
I did, man. Now, Mookie Blaylock fans are not going to be happy with me. C.J. Miles also had a long NBA career. There's been so many others. A.C. Law, of course. But this is my five. I'm going to war with this five. Marcus Smart's going to be my point guard. And, of course, Ricky Pierce, two-time NBA Sixth Man of the Year. Sorry, Rick. Got to keep you in that role, coming off the bench, knocking down baskets. But, Rich, you know, one of the other things I've told people for many years, you not only have great athletes in the city and in the Metroplex, and the coaching's gotten better, but like myself, a Northeast guy, so many people from Chicago, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, New York, have migrated back to the Sun Belt, places like Houston and Dallas, Fort Worth. And they bring that love of basketball back with them, just like me.
Jumper from the wing is good. Another three-pointer from TCU. That's Terrence Todd, the freshman out of Findlay Prep by way of Ontario.
Yeah, same hometown as Andrew Wiggins.
You know, Frank, going back to that conversation about the Dallas basketball players, you look no further than Mike Boynton, the head coach for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. He's a Brooklyn guy like yourself, and he said to us, I didn't think that there was any good basketball in the state of Texas until I got down here and started recruiting, and you could find tons of talent, and he certainly has.
Yeah, and there's a great pass inside right there by Cunningham. And you know, Rich, I was telling you earlier about they have a thing called PE. It's the PE class where you can literally coach your varsity team for 9 months during the PE class. And Mike Boynton was telling us yesterday that the PE classes are different times of the day. 7:50 in the morning, 2:30 in the afternoon. And a good recruiter could get to 4 or 5 schools in a day and see 4 or 5 teams practice.
Chuck O'Bannon with that three. So some of the reserves for Jamie Dixon chipping in early for him.
Chuck O'Bannon, I know he's not from Dallas. He's from L.A. He's from Las Vegas, excuse me. Bishop Gorman High School. That's a familiar name to people out on the West Coast.
TCU back in it, down just one, 13:53 to go. And it looks like in the early going, the Cowboys are intent on getting the ball close to the rim, whereas Jamie Dixon's team is trying to fire away from outside the arc.
Well, and they're pushing it too, because their guard play has been, it's much better this year. And they're playing without Francisco Farabello, a young man that has gotten off to a great start as a sophomore from Argentina.
Cunningham. Open look on the outside from his fellow freshman Walker, but Walker couldn't cash in. It's out of bounds, and it looks like it's going to stay Oklahoma State basketball.
Well, Rondell Walker didn't cash in, but he made a great defensive play, just being in the vicinity and forcing that turnover. And Mike Boynton told us as a freshman he was one of the top 60 players in the country last year, according to ESPN, but become a really good defensive stopper. You saw it right there. And an AAU teammate of Cade Cunningham and Mike Miles, Texas Titans.
Nice pass, Cunningham to the other Boone, Caleb Boone in the scoring column now.
Cade Cunningham at times, Rich, is almost too unselfish. But what you love about his game is he gets everybody involved. He only took 2 shots in the second half against Wichita State. Of course, he made the big one with 9 seconds to go, but I want to see him more aggressive offensively. Let's take a look now. Watch Cade Cunningham right now. A little pick and roll, slip to the rim, 2-on-1. But at 6'8", he's got the ability to see over the trap. And there's a great dime inside. No help from the weak side. But if there's one thing I would criticize him about, which is phenomenal, it's there's times where he's almost too unselfish. He's the best player on the floor virtually every night this season.
Todd, a deep three off the mark. Mike Boynton telling us in that Wichita State game where he hit the game-winning three in that previous timeout, he said, Cade, you have to go out there and be the best guy on the floor. And he did, of course.
Yeah. Well, teams have game planned to keep him out of the lane. How about R.J. Nembhard, man? Just love watching this kid's improvement.
Third bucket of the night for R.J. Nembhard. He has 8. And now it's a 1-point game again. Oklahoma State 14, TCU 13, and there's a steal by the Frogs defense.
Tried to back cut. Good alertness right there.
Transition 3 off the mark. And we have a foul on the floor after the rebound by M.A. Moncrief.
You know, Rich, I was checking before the game. I mentioned that these are two of the youngest teams in college basketball, probably in the power conferences. They're in that mix of about 10 or 12 teams that are really, really young. Now, we know the Dukes and the Kentuckys get the one-and-done guys. But in this case, it's really hard to play so many young players and have the success both teams have had so far. But, of course, Jamie Dixon's been around the block, 15 postseasons in 17 years, and really like the style of Mike Boynton, the way he has gradually grown into this role as the head coach of the Cowboys.
We saw Cunningham go to the bench for a quick rest, and I stress quick. He averages about 33 minutes a game so far.
And you got a TV timeout coming, so that's a good piece of coaching right there by Mike Boynton, because he can get extra rest.
Well, we got a one-point game in the Big 12 debut of Cade Cunningham.
And it's the Boone brothers, Caleb and Keelan, throwing it down. They're athletic.
We've got a top 15 Big 12 college basketball matchup for you tomorrow. Number 5 Kansas traveling to Lubbock to take on number 14 Texas Tech. That's going to be right here on ESPN and the ESPN app alongside Fran Fraschilla. I'm Rich Hollenberg. This is a good one, Fran. Last year, KU won both of those games against the Red Raiders, but it was by a grand total of 7 points. What do you expect from this one tomorrow night?
KU's got an experienced team. They're going to have fans in Lubbock, so it's going to be interesting. I talked to Chris Beard today, and he said, hey, the thing that worries me most is that Bill Self's had a week off, so you're liable to see anything from them. Very rarely does a coach morph the way Bill Self has. When I first got to know him, it was 3 out, 2 in, power basketball. Then recently 4 out, 1 in. Now they're playing 5 out. And Chris Beard said, we're not sure what to expect. I do know this, Rich. In this conference right now, we're watching 2 of those teams tonight. You will see a lot of 4-guard and 5-out basketball from Baylor, from Texas Tech, from Kansas. These 2 teams as well. Iowa State's playing 4 guards. It's the way. It's really the trend now in all of basketball. In the NBA, they call it positionless basketball. When I was coaching at the mid-major level, we called it the necessity is the mother of invention, because you have to play your best players. And you're seeing a lot of 4-guard offense in the Big 12 this year.
Well, that's music to Mike Boynton's ears, especially because he has a kid like Ice Likely on his team, who Mike calls clearly the leader for this Cowboys team, despite the fact that they have a superstar on their team in Cade Cunningham.
You know, when I was at practice in October, Cade was kind of just doing his thing and wasn't getting too excited. And I said to Mike, what's up with Cade? He said, Coach, he's a freshman. He goes, our leader is Ice Likely. But now in big spots, as we saw against Wichita State, Cade Cunningham is not afraid of the moment and never has been.
We've got ourselves a tie ball game. It's raining threes for the TCU Horned Frogs. Already their 5th triple.
This is exactly the problem Mike Boynton told us to expect from TCU. They push it in transition. They play spread basketball, and they will shoot the 3 on a whim.
Oklahoma State tries to answer, no go. Here comes O'Bannon. Gives it up to Miles. Out of bounds with 10:33 to go.
Take a look right here. This time P.J. Fuller knocking it down from deep. Young man who grew up in the Seattle area where there's great basketball. He's actually on state championship teams at 2 different high schools, playing for a guy named Brandon Roy, who was a very good NBA player, of course, whose career was shortened. But there you see P.J. Fuller, another guy that's improved in his sophomore season. I love these guards. I know TCU is picked in the bottom half of the Big 12, but they have a really nice collection of young perimeter players.
Looking to avoid going 0-2 in Big 12 play. They opened their Big 12 slate with a loss at home to Oklahoma. There's the first bucket of the game for the big man, 21 in purple. That's Kevin Samuel.
And that's not an accident. When you start raining down threes, it opens up the floor and spreads you out.
Cunningham back on the floor. Oklahoma State trying to regain the lead, now trailing by 2.
Rich, no matter who you talk to, any of Cade Cunningham's former teammates or coaches, you ask Don Showalter, the coach of the United States Junior National Team, Bruce Weber, who coached Cade in the Under-19 World Championships a couple years ago, they absolutely love this young man's maturity, not just the ability, but the emotional intelligence to make his teammates better.
Here he is with the ball, number 2 in orange. Cade
See the crowd around him. A lot of purple when he drives.
5 on the shot clock. Likely try to force it inside. And TCU comes away with it. Here's Nembhard.
Nice.
Gets it up for the dunk from Miles.
How about that? Little Mike Miles has been quiet tonight, but a great hookup right there from R.J. Nembhard. Almost called him Ruben, his dad. He played in the NBA, but R.J. and Miles have hooked up nicely all season long. How about that? That's a linebacker right there, Rich. 6'2" power forward at times, although he's a terrific point guard.
Averaging about 11 points a game and 8 rebounds, to your point, Fran.
Yeah. Man, he was so good early last year before he was sick.
Samuel stumbled, didn't get called for the travel, and puts it in with the left hand.
He's a very underrated big man around the country. Averaging over 10 rebounds a game. He's got good mobility. Accurate inside.
Here's Ferran Flavors off the window, too strong. And Nembhard bringing it down again. 4-point lead. Looking to add to it, and he does. That jumper looks sweet tonight, Fran.
And yes, it is. And I'll tell you, they're playing with reckless abandon. They're pushing it. They're shooting good rhythm threes in transition. And this is the problem Mike Boyne told us yesterday during our Zoom call, is we got to keep them from shooting threes.
Cunningham, no. And the rebound to Easley.
Listen, they're challenging
the game for TCU.
Yeah.
Off the window and the follow by Samuel.
Mike Boyne needs a timeout right here. This is all because of the drive by Mike Miles that opens up the lane for the big fella to finish. And it's threes, it's dunks. They're giving you a little bit of everything. Transition. Guards. A lot of them. More guards than Buckingham Palace.
4 teams.
Guys, thank you very much. You talk about a 6'9" guy bringing the ball up. How about 6'8" Cade Cunningham running the show for the Oklahoma State Cowboys? But, Fran, in the early going, it's R.J. Nembhard stealing the spotlight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you know these TCU guys, especially the Dallas guys, are locked in on Cade Cunningham. They've done a good job so far. Cade hadn't finished at the rim until right there. How about that?
Right.
Coming out of a timeout. Yeah. Get to the basket. And, you know, Rich, I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's going to be times this year where a tough shot by Cade Cunningham is going to be better than a great shot by some of his teammates. And that's where I think he's got to have, and he does have the killer instinct, but I got to see him take more than 13 shots a game.
Playing some great defense on this possession for the Pokes, but it's Kevin Samuel getting the ball down low.
Does a great job of using the rim on the shot blocker right there. See that? Once he gets to the other side of the rim, Kevin Samuel cannot go through that rim without goaltending. So that's a great job right there of not only using his frame, but also that rim to put the big fella from Barbuda in jail.
Well, that big fella knocks down his first free throw of the night. He has 7. But Cunningham, although just 2 points, he affects the game in so many different ways. Already has 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Samuel 1 for 2. So it's an 8-point TCU lead, their largest of the game.
See, watch the floor shrink when Cunningham's got the ball, and they'll also back off these drivers because the big fella can throw it back at you.
Averaging almost 2.5 blocks a game. Got one there. Here's Nembhard going strong to the hole, coming up empty. Cunningham up the left side.
Look at all those purple shoe jerseys.
Called his own number and came up a little off the mark on that 3 ball.
I don't mind that, Rich. I want to see him be aggressive and get his own offense going. Big fella.
Samuel misses 2 at close range, and Boone with the rebound.
Good push.
Nice pass, Cunningham to Moncrief. Freshman to freshman, Fran.
We talk about Cade Cunningham. It's a young Oklahoma State team, and I love M.A. Moncrief, the young man from Toronto. Getting it done. Run the floor, big guy. You'll get rewarded every time. See the young man from Arlington, Texas, the highest ranked high school recruit. Going to college this year, #2 on the ESPN rankings, and he has done exactly what people expected him to do so far in the early going of his career. A little slow start tonight, but that's been true of the Cowboys in general, Rich. I've been impressed with TCU and the aggressiveness on the offensive end.
Yeah, and doing it on defense as well, holding Oklahoma State to just 1 3-point field goal. That's not the strength of their team. They're 9th in the conference in 3-point percentage. But right now, TCU is clicking on all cylinders. Shot clock winding down, and they can another triple.
Mike Miles, you're going to love this young man. TCU Horned Frog fans already do. As good as Cade Cunningham has been for TCU, Mike Miles will be one of the best freshmen in this league.
3 straight games, 15 or more points. He's got 5 tonight. Speaking of 5, there's #5, Rondell Walker, but he's off the mark.
Look at this pace. They love pushing it. Yep.
Deep 3. Miles, not this time. And a foul in the paint. Let's take a look at Mike Miles in action.
Young man from Lancaster High School on the southeast side of Dallas. Strong, can shoot it from deep, takes it to the basket. Kind of reminds me of Ezekiel Elliott a little bit with that haircut. But and he lost 15 pounds over the summer. He came in with the pandemic 15 until he got to campus. And one of the reasons he stayed home is because he's close to his family, and you know mom's home cooking had something to do with that 15. But he lost to freshman 15, Rich, pretty quickly, and the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, interesting, when Jamie Dixon was talking to us about him, he said he told him point blank, he said, if you want to be an elite point guard, you've got to lose some body fat. Elite point guards are usually at around 5% body fat. He was more around 10 to 15%.
Oh, yeah.
And took it to heart and took it upon himself to lose that weight.
He had the Cracker Barrel 15% is what he had, just like I do. Yep.
Speaking from experience, life on the road in the Big 12.
Well, life in the Dallas Metroplex. You can always find a good Cracker Barrel out there. Little trap. Oh.
Here's Ledee. Comes up short. Well, we talked already about the Metroplex connections in this game, Fran, and 2 best friends greeting each other a little coolly, would you say, Cade Cunningham and Mike Miles.
Hey, welcome to the Big 12, because that's how it is. You know what? We can be boys in the summertime, but not tonight. TCU already 0-1, and of course Oklahoma State trying to get their first Big 12 win. These teams were picked 7th and 9th in the league. Oklahoma State 7th, TCU 9th, so a lot at stake.
And so far with the eye test, Fran, I would say both of these teams look better than those preseason prognostications.
Very possibly. This league's loaded, we know, from top to bottom.
Right now, Joe Lunardi has 7 teams projected to make the NCAA tournament. There's an easy 2 for Nembhard.
Kevin Samuel,
high 12 for RJ.
Yeah.
There's likely misses. And a chance to extend the lead for the Frogs. And a traveling violation called on Kevin Easley.
Rich, I'll tell you this, one of the things, you know, now you're going to crowd the lane. Watch the drop off right here. Kevin Samuel inside, the big fella, big loopy. Look how he draws help. Boone, you never help up off the baseline, okay? You stay back. You never leave the baseline when you have a big guy in a dunker spot. They'll get that corrected in the video tomorrow. But Rich, what I like with what I like what TCU's doing is they're taking away the 3-ball from Cade Cunningham. They're giving him the mid-range, and they got the big fella in the lane challenging the drives. So we talked about how impressive Cade Cunningham is with that big body. But Kevin Samuel, with no foul trouble, is a presence in there defensively.
Yes, he is a legit big body. And I gave R.J. Nembhard credit on the dunk the last time down the floor. It was actually Kevin Samuel. So Nembhard has 10, Samuel has 9, and it's an 11-point lead for the Horned Frogs, looking to snap an Oklahoma State 10-game win streak.
One of the reasons he's having trouble right now scoring in the mid-range and at the rim is this guy, Kevin Samuel, TCU's all-time leading shot blocker. Take a look. Kevin Samuel, no fouls tonight, so he can be aggressive and watch him back up, give ground, hands to the ceiling, stay vertical, and make Cade Cunningham, even with that 7'2" wingspan, score over the big fella. Hadn't able to do it so far.
Cade went in amongst the trees, passed it up, and Boone missed the jumper.
Kevin Samuel
just lead of the game for TCU.
Yeah, Kevin's just got his 5th rebound, Rich.
First time we're seeing number 2 in purple. That's Mickey Pearson on the floor for Jamie Dixon. R.J. Nembhard having a great first half. 10 points so far.
Tough pass right there. TCU going 4 out, 1 in. They run a motion offense. They anchor the big fella inside. 8 on the shot clock, Rich. Let's see where they go to create some offense. I'd like to see Mike Miles or R.J. Nembhard with the ball right now.
Now Mike Boynton going particularly small. Avery Anderson on the floor, as is Rondell Walker, the defensive stopper on this Cowboys team.
High pick and roll for RJ.
5 to shoot. Nembhard has the ball. Gives it up. Here's Samuel, left-handed hook, in and out. Fight for the loose ball, and Pearson comes away with it.
How about that? Mickey Pearson right in the ball game and right on cue.
And the takeaway from TCU once again.
Strong.
Mike Boynton said he's got to try and stop that transition game to come up empty there.
Cowboys shooting 31% tonight.
And finally, it's been 6.5 minutes, but Oklahoma State gets back in the scoring column. Avery Anderson.
That was just a breakdown. TCU a little confused. See how they go 4 out, 1 in. Random movement. They'll play through Samuel until he comes to the high post.
Miles off to Pearson. 10 on the shot clock. Here's Nembhard. Calls his own number and badly misses that time. Here's Walker. Slashes to the hoop and gets the bucket.
Strong move by
buckets for Rondell Walker.
Yeah, loved it. Loved the slashing ability from the wing. From the freshman from Oklahoma City. Little momentum, Rich, and that's what you need. TCU has controlled this first half, but Cowboys would love another basket or two.
Only 3,500 allowed inside Gallagher-Iba, but they're having their voices heard right now, trying to spur on the Pokes. Here comes Likely leading the break. And he gets it to go. Ice Likely showing what he does best.
You are not stopping this guy in transition. You talk about a head of steam right now. First of all, it was a quick shot, which led to a long rebound and an open court. Take a look. Here's the open court, and here he comes into your living room. 6'3", I don't know, 220 maybe. I know Mike Gundy would love to have him on the football field. Young man from Arlington. Played his high school basketball at Timberview High School in Mansfield.
Misses the chance for the three-point play, but still a 7-point TCU lead.
The only way you beat 6-month-aged cheddar toasted on the shell of a chalupa is to put it in this box. The $5 toasted cheddar chalupa box is back for a limited time, only at Taco Bell.
Alongside Fran Fraschilla, Rich Hollenberg, Gallagher-Iba Arena, Eddie Sutton Court for the home opener in Big 12 play for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They're 6-0, riding a 10-game win streak dating back to last year. But the TCU Horned Frogs don't want to hear any of that noise. They're up 35-28 with a minute to go in the first half. Left hand, the follow is good by Moncrief.
I'll tell you, I love this young man's energy, Rich. Two-time Canadian High School Player of the Year. Got a chance to see him at the Nike Hoop Summit a couple years ago. Eddie Sutton would have loved this kid. He is tough and gritty.
An 8-zip run by the Pokes have them right back in this.
And no Cade Cunningham on this run. Good for the Cowboys' confidence.
Feed inside, Samuel rattles it home. And Kevin Samuel's in double digits with 11.
Yeah, big basket. That stemmed the tide a little bit, but Cowboys have a chance to really creep back into this game.
Shot clock is off, 15 seconds to go. What do you think the call is here, Fred?
Ice likely. High pick and roll, get downhill, get to the rim. Looks like Rondell Walker instead. And not a smart foul.
That's going to be on R.J. Nembhard with 5.8 to go in the first half.
Fouling a guy that's made 80% of his free throws this year, his freshman year, Rondell Walker at a Putnam City West in Oklahoma City.
He gets the first. Walker has 7 and a chance to make it 8.
Like
Oklahoma State trailed by as many as 13 earlier in this game, and this run has come largely without Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, and that's a confidence builder. Mike Boynton told us yesterday he recruited this young man as long and hard as he did Cade Cunningham, both as freshmen.
Walker on the season now 14 for 17 from the free throw line. You love that out of a freshman. And it's last shot time for the Frogs.
Little pressure right here. Slow the game down.
Nembhard slips and time runs out. But TCU, a sharp first half, 37-32, and a struggling first half for the superstar Cade Cunningham. Just 2 points on 1 for 9 from the field. We're going to send things to the studio for the Jeep halftime report. KC and the boys coming up. Big 12 basketball returns for the second half. Oklahoma State and TCU. We've seen a couple of SportsCenter top 10 nominees in this one, both via the dunk. There's one from Mike Miles. TCU leads it coming out of the break by 5, 37-32 from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Rich Hollenberg along with Fran Fraschilla. We are both in our homes. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes. And Fran, it's good news, bad news for TCU after the first 20 minutes. The good news, they're up 5 and they shot 46% from 3. The bad news, they're only up 5 and All-American candidate Cade Cunningham has not been quite like the Cade Cunningham we expected.
But the Horned Frogs get credit for great defense, Rich, and a great game plan. Yep, you don't expect to hold Cade Cunningham to 1 field goal in the second half, but watch the defense. First by the big fella, Kevin Samuel. Look at the challenge at the rim. Every shot this young man's taken tonight has had a hand in his face, and you really like that if you're Jamie Dixon. Now the key is going to be, can you slow this guy down 20 more minutes? That's going to be a tall order. But again, here's another opportunity. Watch Mike Miles challenge the shot. Cade Cunningham 1 for 9 in the first half. And the other bit of bad news for TCU, Rich, is that, yeah, they're up 5, but they were up 13 and gave away a large part of that lead at the end of the first half. What is the momentum going to be like for both teams in the first 3 minutes of the second half?
Well, a look at our first half stats brought to you by Ally, and you see the key stats. Kevin Samuel came to play, 11 points, leading the TCU Horned Frogs. And right off the bat, Oklahoma State gets back in the scoring column.
They created a little switch right there, and he was able to take advantage. Cunningham was in the lane on the post-up.
Miles gives it up. That's P.J. Fuller, the sophomore. Here's Nembhard at close range. R.J. Nembhard with a dozen.
Nifty, really nifty. RJ was going to go up on the right side of the basket. He felt the defensive presence. He snuck behind the basket. Good finish. Another switch opportunity. They're going at Cade early now.
Cunningham with the left hand had it blocked. Here's Light.
Good challenge. Yep.
Now a 3-ball off the mark, and Oklahoma State has really struggled from 3-point range. They're now 1 for 8 in that category.
Rich, they're going to struggle all season. They really will. They are not a good shooting team.
Outside, 9 on the shot clock, and they miss again.
If you're Jamie Dixon, you just seal off the lane, bring that ball to the big fella, and challenge those 3-point shots.
Nembhard misses. Here come the pokes. Cunningham, number 2 in orange, with the ball. Likely improved his shooting stroke. Not on that one, though.
That was a great example of Kevin Samuel. He met Cade Cunningham at the basket. Cade thought better of shooting it, passed it out to Likely, and with all, listen, we love Ice Likely, but the one thing you're going to do if you're an opponent is give him that 3-ball. Absolutely critical first 3 minutes for both teams, Rich. I was a fanatic when I coached about getting my team ready to start the second half with energy and emotion. It's so easy to come out of the locker room up 5 like TCU was and not realizing how hard it was to get that lead in the first 20 minutes. So you got to come out with energy.
And I would have to imagine during these COVID times, Fran, having only 3,500 in the crowd instead of 13,000 in the crowd at Gallagher-Iba Arena has to have some kind of an impact on Oklahoma State.
I'll tell you what, it impacts every team in college basketball this year. You have to create your own energy. I don't care if there's nobody in the arena, 3,500, vaccine, no vaccine, you have to bring your own energy every night, home and away.
Samuel goes 1 for 2. He matches Nembhard for game-high honors with 12 apiece. Here's number 12, Moncrief, for the Cowboys, had it partially blocked.
Yeah, but another challenge by Kevin Samuel, who's now holding his nose a little bit.
2 minutes gone by, 6-point lead, and a turnover for the Frogs. Tell you, we came in talking about this Oklahoma State defense. I've been impressed with TCU's D.
Well, that last possession, there were 3 purple jerseys around Cade Cunningham.
Ten on the shot clock for the Frogs.
Can't guard him.
Samuel got it.
Can't guard him. Good deep position by the big fella. And Rich, I brought it up earlier. He's got no fouls, which has always been his, kryptonite.
Another 3 off the mark. Is Oklahoma State settling, Fran?
Yes, they are. And that guy can shoot it. That's the one guy that can really knock down shots is Ferron Flavors, the transfer from Cal Baptist.
Shot it at a 43% clip last year. That was good for 16th in the nation at Cal Baptist. He's got his first points of the night. Still a 5-point game. That's what the spread was at halftime.
Cowboys are trapping all those high pick and rolls. Not a good pass. I'd go back to my 4-out motion if I were Jamie Dixon. That was very effective.
Another 3-ball attempt, and the second time it goes down in a row.
That's the exact reason this young man transferred to Oklahoma State. Rich, he doesn't do a lot of things at a high level, power conference level, but the one thing he does is he shoots the ball from deep. Mr. Ice Cream, 31 flavors.
It's got to be the best name number combination in college basketball.
Good back cut.
And a big dunk that goes off the back of the rim.
Good challenge by Cunningham.
Using those extra large mitts of his. Here's another turnover. O'Bannon at the other end.
Charles O'Bannon Jr. taking advantage of the loose ball and finishing at the other end.
And Fran, we're not yet 5 minutes into the second half, but it seems like every time Oklahoma State looks like they're gaining momentum, TCU has an answer.
Well, there's an energy level that we've seen with both teams coming out the second half, and that's a good sign.
Here's a strong take to the hole, and Oklahoma State is starting to get things clicking on offense. That's Moncrief for another 2.
Yeah, he took it right at the shot blocker. Sometimes with a shot blocker, fading away, not the answer. Go right through his chest.
Here's another turnover. Could be an easy 2 at this end. And a dunk from Cade Cunningham. We have ourselves a tie ball game.
This is what we talked about, Rich. You have to start the second half with high energy.
Oklahoma State's last lead came at the 11:23 point of the first half. It was 16-13, and now we have a stoppage of play with 14:47 to go, and the Cowboys threatening to regain that lead. Cade Cunningham getting the assist from Ferron Flavors, and that's a flavorful flush by the super freshman. Well, Oklahoma State is coming back in this one, and so is Cade Cunningham.
Good little dime right here by Ferron Flavors. Cade with the finish. He's got 2 baskets tonight, both at the rim. Struggling a little bit from the field, 3 for 12. And there you see the young man from Arlington, Texas, 6'8", 220. He's thought of by our mock draft guys as the #1 pick. I think it's early, Rich. I've talked to a lot of NBA teams. I love this kid. There's so much to love about him, but you know, you got to put these boards together. I remember just a couple years ago, everybody had R.J. Barrett as the #1 pick in the draft. That lasted about 5 minutes when Duke went on that trip to Toronto. That was pretty evident that Zion Williamson was a special talent. But I love this kid. He's going to be a high pick. He's going to be an even better NBA player because he's going to play in space without 5 purple jerseys in the lane. He's going to play with great players around him. He is a great facilitator. He's a great teammate. But a little too early right now to just say who is the #1 pick. Jalen Green, Eric Mobley from USC, the big fellow, reminds me of Chris Bosh. But certainly Cade Cunningham's going to be an outstanding NBA player.
Chris Bosh, you had to go back to the Metroplex references, didn't you, Fred?
Absolutely. Look at that move.
Here's Cade with a nice move, and he gets mugged in the paint. Cade Cunningham will go to the line for the first time.
That's good coaching. This is the 3rd time tonight that Mike Boynton has come out of a timeout and created an ISO situation for Cade Cunningham. And PJ Fuller may be 6'4", but that's a hard matchup for him to handle. Good coaching coming out of a timeout. What's your ATO strategy? And Mike Boynton's ATO strategy after timeout strategy is let's create something for our best player to get him going a little bit.
Well, I know it's not sexy to talk about free throws, Fran, but that's another plus in the column for Cade Cunningham. 86% coming in. And of course, I mentioned that, and he goes 1 for 2 from the free throw line.
Don't let this guy open.
In and out.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Wichita State held Cunningham to 10 points over the weekend, and they did a great job of keeping him off the foul line. He did not shoot a free throw.
The TCU offense has gone silent. Here's Likely, and he gets fouled hard, goes into the stanchion, and he's helped up by Mike Miles, his fellow Metroplex player.
This Cunningham connection with Likely didn't start at Oklahoma State. They were teammates on the 2019 Under-19 FIBA World Championship team representing the United States of America.
That's right. They went out to Greece, head coached by Bruce Weber, won a gold medal. We've got a top 15 Big 12 matchup for you tomorrow. That's number 5 Kansas in Lubbock taking on number 14 Texas Tech. That's going to be right here on ESPN and the ESPN app. We've talked a lot about Cade Cunningham tonight, Fran. Maybe one of the unsung stars of the early part of this season has been Jalen Wilson for Kansas.
Give it to Dip. Very, very nice, Rich. Another Metroplex guy from Denton Geyer, right up about 30 minutes south, north of downtown. And you'll see some Dallas kids tomorrow night. Not only Jalen Wilson, the outstanding redshirt freshman for the Jayhawks, but how about Marcus Garrett? How about Micah Peavy? How about Kyler Edwards for Texas Tech? Well, this Big 12 conference is full of those great players from Dallas-Fort Worth. Last time I checked, there were about 130 high schools from the west side of Fort Worth to the east side of Dallas.
Here's Cunningham. right into the teeth of the defense and gets another foul. And wouldn't you know it, you talked about Kyler Edwards. Kyler Edwards and Cade Cunningham were high school teammates in Cade's freshman year at Bowie High School in Arlington.
Yep.
And that's how Mike Boynton first saw Cade Cunningham. He went to recruit Kyler Edwards and saw this young kid as a freshman kind of deferring to some of the stars on the team and said, there's something about this kid that I like. And he's known him ever since.
You know, he offered him a scholarship that day without telling his head coach, Brad Underwood. And he was an assistant coach at Oklahoma State at the time, and he told Coach Underwood, he goes, hope you're okay with this, but I just offered a freshman a scholarship. And of course, it's a big reason why on June 5th, when Oklahoma State went on NCAA probation, which they're appealing right now, and the original ruling is that they're going to be out of the NCAA tournament this year. It took Cade Cunningham about 2 weeks, but he said, you know what? I want to go to Oklahoma State because I want to be with Coach Boynton, who recruited me from the very beginning. I also want to be with my brother Cannon, who's a member of the coaching staff.
Metroplex mania continues. That was a sweet Mike Miles layup for the Horned Frogs.
Boy, Mike Miles is going to be a tremendous Big 12 player.
Here's Taryn Todd with a tough two, his first two of the second half. We have a tie ball game.
Yeah, these guards are really good for TCU.
Back and forth we go. Moncrief in double digits with 10.
Moncrief reminds me of one of those guys I told you, Ivan McFarland, the Graham twins. Coach Sutton, the late Coach Sutton, congratulations, Coach, for getting in the Hall of Fame. He would have loved M.A. Moncrief.
Here's Ledee with a hand in his face, and Jadon Ledee gets his first two.
A Houston kid. Amongst all these Dallas kids, we got a Houston kid. Young man who transferred
like he needs a passport.
Yeah. Transferred from Ohio State, started his career playing for Chris Holtman.
Tied at 50 apiece. Big 12 opener for Cowboys.
They don't double.
Here's Flavors for three, in and out.
Great pass by Cade Cunningham. That's one of those plays where I think he's got to force that one to the rim. I really do. He really didn't command a double team on that last play. And I think Cade Cunningham at times has got to take over the game offensively. Rich, in the win over Wichita State, where they had a sizable lead and squandered it, he only took 2 shots in the second half.
Here's Likely. Moncrief takes it strong, gets it to go, but an offensive foul is called.
That's where you got to just pull up and come to a jump stop, and R.J. Nembhard gets his body in the way, takes the charge.
Well, we've talked a lot about the Metroplex. How about the Canadian kid?
Oh, you know, Canadians can play.
4 teams, 2 semifinals. New Year's Day, the college football playoff lives on ESPN.
College football's conference championship weekend highlighted by this lineup. Saturday on ABC, the Big 12 championship game between Oklahoma and Iowa State at noon. Then Clemson and Notre Dame square off in the ACC championship. And finally, Tulsa takes on Cincinnati in the AAC title game. Sunday, we'll have the college football playoff selection show at noon Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. And going back, Fran Fraschilla, to that Big 12 title game between the Cyclones and the Sooners, apparently you're going to have to step in for some mediation with Reese Davis and the Cyclone fans.
Yeah, Reese was taking exception to the Cyclones being number 6, and now the Cyclones can end all that speculation with a second win. Can you imagine beating Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley's team, twice in one season? That's a tall order, but Matt Campbell's done an amazing job in Ames. He really has.
Look at Isaac Likely taking it to the hole, almost a chance at a three-point play, and that is defense turning into offense. He gets the pick, and then he almost takes it to the house.
I was in Brooklyn last November, Rich, when these guys blew out Syracuse and Ole Miss, and Isaac Likely had 26 and 8 assists against Syracuse. This team was ranked in 7-0, and then he contracted mono. And he's really never the same. We did a lot of games, Rich. I don't really think he was ever the same until the final 3 weeks of February.
Right.
And certainly since he's been back, there's the numbers tonight. He's a stat sheet stuffer because of that unusual size and strength for a point guard. And he's really deferred this year on the ball to Cade Cunningham, and they have a great relationship.
Free throws a little bit of a fly in the ointment tonight for the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Yeah, I'd like to see TCU go back to a little more spread out, 4-out motion and move this defense a little bit more. The pick and rolls have not been as effective.
Easily
nice
gives
pass.
it up to the big guy. Samuel just kind of tossed it up on the rim.
Yeah, he needs to go strong with that.
A 3-on-2 for the Cowboys ends up in a foul called on Mike Miles.
Take a look right here. Here's the drive and a nice little dump off. And no, you got to go strong with that, big fella. You can't baby that ball up there when you're 6'11", 260.
So now Bryce Williams, known more for his defense than his offense, is at the line, averaging 6.8 a game. But he is a lockdown defender. His 10 steals coming into this game led the Cowboys.
You know, he's a guy that I think you're going to see more of during the year. He's a transfer from Ole Miss and a junior college All-American the year before that. And he's always been known, Rich, as a really good outside shooter. So when you combine the defensive energy, they may need to get his shooting on the floor at some point, and I think they will.
Cowboys now 10 for 16 as a team from the free throw line.
Just watch the offense in the half court and see if you can see a little bit more movement. They got a lot of movement. Look at this. Now,
Avery Anderson with the theft. Likely at the other end.
Well, you're not stopping that guy. Very, very sloppy last few possessions for TCU.
Cowboys back on top, and a timeout called by Jamie Dixon. Oh, check that. The ball goes out of bounds.
Let me tell you something. Avery Anderson, we haven't mentioned him. He's from up north of Fort Worth, up there in Justin, up by Texas Motor Speedway. He's hassling Mike Miles right now. There's that double team. They're trapping pick and rolls, and that's really slowed TCU down.
Here's Taryn Todd. He's had himself a great second half.
My goodness.
7 points in the second half for Taryn Todd, puts TCU up by 2.
Good cut.
And
Good
one
cut.
Opportunity, and that's Rondell Walker going to the line.
I'll tell you what I loved about that. Ice Likely became a post player right there. He used that dribble to back it. Watch him back into the lane, and he waits for the cutter. And a good job by Rondell Walker recognizing he had that little, what we call the middle paint area to do his dirty work. Good find by Ice Likely.
This
kind of reminded me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it reminded me of Villanova, the way they post their guards. I think you can do that with both Likely and Cunningham even more.
Walker, a freshman, Moncrief, a freshman, of course, Cade Cunningham. This could be Oklahoma State's best recruiting class ever, and that's saying something for a very tradition-rich program.
Well, they're tightening up the defense now. Great help that time on the lob inside.
Now P.J. Fuller back in the game with 3 fouls. Mike Boynton has really addressed the defensive end of things with these young Cowboys.
And there you see the help right there from the weak side. Excellent. That ball stays in the air a long time when you throw that lob pass from the top of the key. That's what we call a helium pass, Rich. Not good.
Like a balloon. Anderson, and the foul is called, and if that's on Fuller, that's going to be his 4th.
Well, that might put the Cowboys into bonus, doesn't it?
Indeed it does. In a tie ball game with 9:02 to go, free throws could tell the tale in this one. You know, Fran, we talk about Oklahoma State's defense. When you go all the way back, I'm not talking all the way back to Eddie Sutton, even before that, when Henry Iba was the head coach and Eddie Sutton was an assistant. They coveted defense. And now Mike Boynton has said, we are reintroducing that to this program.
Mr. Iba invented defense. There's very few people in the sport of basketball that can say things like that. And there you see the jerseys, very common during the Sutton era, as you mentioned. But in this part of the country, Rich, and I think of this part of the country, I'm talking about old Big 8 basketball, Southwest Conference. Mr. Iba had literally the most influence of any basketball coach ever. I mean, it's really going on 75 years now. Mr. Iba influenced so many great coaches. Bob Knight, Don Haskins, Eddie Sutton. The list is endless.
The follow by Caleb Boone. Oklahoma State on top. And
Oklahoma State
did his career,
has
767 wins.
Yeah, the defense has been ratcheted up. I think part of it is because of the lack of movement by TCU. You just can't turn it over this much. Wow!
And Bryce Williams with the flush and the flex after that. It's a 4-point Oklahoma State lead with 8:11 to go, and we have a timeout on the floor.
Somewhere up above, Eddie Sutton and Henry Iba slapping 5 because they love what's going on inside Gallagher Iba Arena. Defense!
Big 12 now on ESPN Plus, a must-have for Big 12 fans. The Horned Frogs play Texas Southern December 30th. Thursday, you can go all access with the Cowboys with Our Time Oklahoma State football. You'll get unprecedented footage and sound from players and coaches, plus 19 conference basketball games this season on Big 12 Now. If you're a fan, you gotta have it. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com/Big 12 Now, and you never know when Fran Fraschilla will show up on a Big 12 Now telecast.
I love it. If I get a chance to do a Kansas or a West Virginia game, I'm in. Absolutely. We had some fun
West
last year.
Virginia on Friday, they're taking on Iowa State as an early start to the Big 12 slate. How do you feel about that, Fran?
Hey, we have basketball, Rich. I'm so excited that we have basketball. We've got to keep these young people safe. We're in a once-a-century pandemic. Hopefully it's coming to a close soon. But I just love seeing these kids compete on the court.
Tough take, the follow, no good. And it's brought in again by Boone. Caleb Boone has 6 points, and now the lead is 6 for Oklahoma State. Largest of the game for the Pokes.
Yeah, and it's really been their defense. TCU was in such a great rhythm offensively, Rich. We were talking about how well they shot the ball in the first half, and they only got 1 3-point attempt in the second half.
Taryn Todd, maybe a little freshman mistake, goes out of bounds. Jamie Dixon, much to his consternation.
Yeah, he thought that ball was knocked out by Oklahoma State, but the official had a really good view of that.
We'll take a timeout on the floor. 7:06 to go. 6-point lead for the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Rich and Fran, back to you in Stillwater.
Thanks, KC. We still have 7:06 to go, and in a 2-possession ball game, Fran Fraschilla, every possession is valuable. The officials called this a turnover by TCU, but
Yep.
it looks like Bryce Williams touched the ball.
Absolutely. Now, we had to watch this like 10 times during the break, and it does look like Jamie Dixon had a great point right there. And the officials, it's the only occupation where you have to start out perfect and improve from there. and they missed their share, but not many. Yeah, hey, Rich, you know what I did one summer in the Big 12? Take a look right here. Now, this looks like, see, this looks like it hits P.J. Fuller from that angle. But the first angle we showed you was clear that he didn't touch it. I spent one summer, not a summer, but a weekend at Big 12 officiating camp. I actually officiated AAU games. Ever since that time, and I'm a former coach, right? Ever since that time, I have learned how hard this job is. And I'll tell you the other thing is the rules are so hard to learn. It's something that's why I have a little bit more, I don't know, concern, I guess, or empathy for officiating, because it's a hard job. Coaching's hard, playing's hard, officiating's hard.
So I have one
Broadcasting's easy.
How many tees did you give out when you were officiating?
No, I didn't. But I'll tell you, in 9 years as a head coach, I got 5 tees in 9 seasons.
That's a pretty good percentage.
So as high energy as I was on the sideline, and I did bark at officials, I kind of kept it at a. I took it to the edge, if you know what I mean. Didn't go over the line. But the thing about it is, it's a hard job, man. If they get 95% of them right, good for them. We got guys shooting 55% from the foul line tonight.
Yeah.
We don't criticize them.
Rondell Walker misses the front end of a 1-and-1. By the way, a veteran officiating crew tonight: Gary Maxwell, Kelly Self, Rick Crawford.
Hey, Gary Maxwell took a shot the other night. He was bleeding, stitches. He was down for 10 minutes. He got up, finished the game, I believe, but he took some shot. Hazard pay.
Cade Cunningham back on the floor. He's been relatively quiet, although 8.7 rebounds, 3 assists is a good game for most. For Cade Cunningham, coming in averaging 18.5, nearly 6 rebounds and 4 assists a game. It's a little bit of a head scratcher for him. He knocks down that free throw, gives him 9.
Yeah, what's happening to Cade, and he'll find this out in the Big 12, is people will game plan for him. They're going to crowd the lane with bodies. They're going to force him to kick it out to teammates who are not as talented as he is. They're going to contest every shot. They're going to double him in the post, and he'll find out different ways to get his game going. But this is not like high school.
And this is another gear, being that it's Big 12 play.
That's right.
You might think those challenges would come against the Baylors and the Texas Techs and the West Virginias, all really ferocious defenses. Maybe not TCU, but TCU has played well defensively tonight.
Well, they have, and listen, this is a different level. It's counterintuitive to say this, but the NBA game will actually be easier for him because the spacing is different. You have the NBA 3-second rule. You have shooters on the wings. You have a higher level of player. So it's kind of crazy to say this, but there's nights he's going to have like this where it's going to be hard to get into the lane, where in the NBA it's not going to be as difficult. You know who he reminds me of, and he's not as athletic. He has some Grant Hill in his game. He's got that size. Now, he's not the athlete Grant Hill was, but in terms of being a great all-around prospect at 6'8", passing, scoring, shooting, defending, rebounding, you know, that's one of the guys he reminds me of. Of course, it's sacrilegious to say he'd be as good, but there's no doubt he's going to be a very good pro.
Here he is with the ball, gives it up.
Pass. That's a dunk in the NBA.
And he follows with a bucket.
And see again, you know, a great pass. Isaac Likely not finishing in the NBA. You're throwing that to Andre Drummond, and he's dunking on somebody's head. Pistons would love to have him.
That jumper is good. RJ Nembhard has 14, just the second bucket of the second half.
TCU settled down the last couple minutes, Rich.
Stands to reason that we're talking about Cade Cunningham struggling. He has 11 points and 8 rebounds. He'll end up with a double-double tonight.
Yeah, he'll have a couple triple-doubles this season.
Here's Cunningham again. That time he's met by Samuel.
Samuel's done a good job all night. Look at this run out.
Terrence Todd lost the handle, caught it too deep under the basket.
Another turnover for TCU. That has really bothered them in the second half. They got 19 turnovers, Rich, but you see the challenge at the rim. Sloppy pass, and yet they're still in this game.
Yeah. Jamie Dixon's team came in with only 13 turnovers in average, but in his last 2 games, 18 turnovers against Providence, 19 against Texas A&M. They have another 19 tonight.
And you saw the differential in points off turnovers, 23-6, I think.
Here's Cunningham, showing the patience, just probing in the lane.
We'll see. That's what I like there. Yeah, when you attack a shot blocker, You got to go through his chest. You got to put your body on his. Kevin Samuel is not as mobile as Cade Cunningham is. Watch. This is what Cade does well. He takes his body to the defender, and he's got to do this more. Right there, see, that doesn't even look like a foul when we run it back, but the fact that there was contact is what he has to continue to do. He's got to draw fouls because he shoots it well from the line, and he's got the body to be able to do that.
That's just the second foul whistled on the big man, 21 in purple. Kevin Samuel has had himself a good game tonight. Cunningham goes 2 for 2, so now he's up to 13 points, and it's a 5-point Oklahoma State lead, 4.5 to go. Nebhart calls his own number and cashes in.
I like that. RJ's got 16 tonight, and that was no offense by TCU, just a good individual play.
Cunningham is feeling it now.
Well, I like the way he's mixing it up now. That time, instead of taking it at Samuel, he just settled for the foul line jump shot. There's that trapping that's really bothered TCU tonight in pick and roll.
And with
Rich, I'm going to give you
go ahead.
I'm going to give you a lesson here. When you attack pick and roll and they trap you, you must get the ball to the rim. But watch Cade Cunningham. Little mixing up of the game. It goes with the fastball, then the curveball, and all of a sudden, Cowboys have a little bit of a lead.
Yes, this has been an early season struggle for the Duke Blue Devils, and Mike Krzyzewski has been outspoken about some issues away from the court, but on the court, what have you seen from the Blue Devils, Fran?
You know what, Rich? Not all one-and-done classes are created equal. And for every Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett class, or Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, some of these freshmen are not ready for prime time in terms of being guys that are one-and-done guys. College basketball is changing, with transfers being immediately eligible this year and going forward, one-time eligibility. More and more people are going to get old and stay old. Some of the one-and-done guys are heading to the G League and playing for that Ignite team. And I guarantee you that in the next couple of years, John Calipari's already doing it with guys like Nate Sestina and Reed Travis, and this year Olivier Sarr. You're going to see Duke and Kentucky go the transfer route like everybody else. You just can't win consistently anymore with the type of one-and-done guys that are coming into college basketball.
There's another two by Cade Cunningham. It's takeover time for Cade.
No doubt. He has a sense of the moment. He came up big again. There's that trap again. You've got to attack the trap. And you've got to put a man in the middle of the court where you can throw it to him in the middle of the lane and create a little 4-on-3. But Mike Miles said, I'm going to do it myself.
How about this? Best friends since 3rd grade, and they're going mano a mano in the Big 12.
Yeah, great finish with the left hand by the young man from Lancaster. Take a look now. Watch Cade Cunningham get downhill. And P.J. Fuller with the 4 fouls is not going to commit the 5th. He gives him the angle. That's my line right there. Yeah, when you're even, Rich, you're leaving. P.J. Fuller doesn't get in front. He's on his side. Cade Cunningham said, I'm leaving. Little zone now.
16 for Miles, 17 for Cunningham.
Look at the zone now. We haven't seen much 2-3 zone tonight from TCU. Who's going to shoot the jump shot?
Here's Boone. Nice up and under, and he gets fouled.
Boy, I was surprised by that call. I thought Kevin Samuel, I didn't even know if there was any contact there. That was an up and under by Boone, and Kevin Samuel is, take a look now. Oh gosh, no. I mean, did he clip him with the chicken wing? I just didn't see a lot of contact on that.
That's the 3rd foul on Fuller, nonetheless, or make that on Samuel. Caleb Boone at the line, 71% free throw shooter, knocks his first one down tonight.
You know, this doesn't happen often in college, and we have in the Big 12 some of the best officiating in the country, but sometimes you get penalized for being big. And it looks like a foul, but it was a good up and under by Boone. Give him credit.
Caleb Boone knocks them both down, extends the Oklahoma State lead to 4 with 3:07 to go, and now Avery Anderson checking in for Mike Point.
You know, the best thing about this Oklahoma State roster, Rich, is that there's only one and done guy on it. And there's a lot of young guys in this freshman and sophomore classes that are going to develop into really good players.
And know each other really well.
Yep. See how they double team the ball anytime they smell pick and roll. And another turnover.
Turnover number 20 for the TCU Horned Frogs.
This was a team, Rich, that was up 13 in the first half. And the ball movement was singing like Sting. Little zone.
25 points off of those 20 turnovers for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Here's Anderson, the floater.
That's a young guy that has become way more efficient as a sophomore. Remember last year he was 1 for 26 from 3. Look at the trapping. There's no answers for the trapping right now.
And a foul is called as Miles runs into half of the Oklahoma State defense.
Rich, what you have to do when you're trapped in pick and roll is your post player has to open up early. He can't roll all the way to the rim. Watch, take a look now. You see how Samuel leaves the ball? And you've got to put somebody in the middle of the court. We call it a short roll to catch the ball and play 4 versus 3.
Both teams in the bonus with 2:29 to go. And Miles misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Cunningham lost it. Got it back. And a foul's called on TCU. That one's going to go on top. Well, this is our next NBA preseason matchup, Fran. We'll have the Warriors and the Kings from the Golden One Center in Sacramento. That's tomorrow at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the app.
We're going to see some familiar Big 12 faces for the Sacramento Kings. Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, their first-round pick, and Jamias Ramsey, their second-round pick out of Texas Tech. So well stocked, the Sacramento Kings, with some guys that we've seen play in the past. This Rondell Walker is going to be a heck of a player, Rich.
Yeah, Fran, you saw Cannon Cunningham next to Mike Boynton, who was talking to Cannon's younger brother, Cade Cunningham. Cade's Cannon, dynamite second half.
Yeah, Cannon, a big reason why Cade came to Oklahoma State. He was on the staff, hired by Mike Boynton. Played for Larry Brown and Matt Doherty at SMU.
Samuel short from close range. It goes out of bounds. And is it going to be Oklahoma State ball? Looks like it'll stay TCU basketball.
Kevin Samuel is 6 of 11 tonight, but he has, I promise you, all 5 of those misses were right around the rim. He's given up some points.
Here's Nembhard off the catch and release.
Play. Great set play. Double screen. RJ coming off the screen, did his work early, got behind the ball. His footwork led right into the pass. Take a look. This is great footwork now. Watch him get behind the ball right there before he catches it. Really well done. Perfect execution. It's a great X and O play by Dixon and terrific fundamentals by RJ Nembhard. You always want to do your work early when you're a catch and shoot guy.
I'll tell you what, Fran, we came into this game raving about the backcourt of Cunningham and Likely. Not to be outdone, RJ Nembhard and Mike Miles. Miles with 16, Nembhard with 19, and they are keeping this TCU team in this game down just 5 with 2:02 to go.
Well, we mentioned it at the very beginning, the 2 highest scoring combos in the league, and all 4 of those kids from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We talked about RJ's improvement over 3 seasons. Freshman year, I thought he was very inconsistent. Second year, he got a little bit better, and the start of this year, he has been an outstanding player. The son of Ruben Nembhard, who played at Weber State, Big Sky Player of the Year, NBA player, and Ruben, go back in time, 1995, Weber State knocked off Michigan State in the NCAA tournament. And Ruben Jr. having a pretty good start to his junior year.
1995, also ironically, the same year Oklahoma State marched all the way to the Final Four in that tournament before UCLA took them down and won the national title.
That was a good NCAA tournament, Rich, for a lot of people.
Present company. included.
Yep.
So here we go. 2:02 to go. Some full court pressure.
Yep. Little 2-2-1. Still a possession game. It's not a comeback game yet. By that I mean possessions. You need stops. Don't have to foul. TCU sitting in that zone. It starts out as a 1-1-3. You'll see it morph to a 2-3. Great angle right there.
How do you
can't give up the drives? Can't give that up.
The foul, or are they going to call it offensive goaltending?
Very fortunate.
Was in the cylinder.
Yeah, I think it was a good call. They're giving up too much dribble penetration. Take a look at Caleb Boone. If that ball's anywhere in the cylinder, straight to the ceiling.
That was
close, but I do think that a part of that ball was still inside that cylinder. Really close. Now, Rich.
1:39 to go. They could check this out, and it looks like they will, friend.
Yes, they can. This is one of the things in the last 2 minutes of a game. You can go to the monitor in the final 2 minutes of a game or the final 2 minutes of overtime to review a basket interference goaltending. You can review an out of bounds off of an opponent, or you can review the restricted arc. Let's take a look right here. They're going to check to see if they can clearly see, and I think that ball is still in the cylinder. This should be easy.
So they call it a no basket, as was the initial call. Stays 76-71. Jamie Dixon only has one timeout remaining. Possession arrow in favor of the Frogs, but they trail by 5 on the road, trying to get their first Big 12 win of the year. Oklahoma State 6-0, riding a 10-game winning streak dating back to last year, trying to start off their Big 12 campaign in victorious fashion.
I just don't like these pick and rolls because it just takes to
inside out.
Open yeah.
Samuel the rebound. Surrounded by orange jerseys, and a foul is called.
This is good news, bad news for TCU because they'll get 2 free throws, but Kevin Samuel, although he's improved from the line, still under 60% on the season. This is one of his weaknesses. He does a lot of good things. He's a terrific young big guy. But 2 free throws here would be absolutely optimum for the Frogs.
And he got the first 15 points. He's one off his season high is Kevin Samuel. Go back 1 year ago in their Big 12 opener on the road at Kansas State. Samuel credited with the tip-in at the buzzer to beat the Wildcats. He knocks them both down. He ties his season high of 16.
Yeah, that's a bonus. That is a bonus when you can get 2 from your big guy. Good job, Kevin. Guess who's got the ball, Rich?
Number 2 in orange, Cade Cunningham, gives it up to Likely.
Let's see if they go to the post.
They're 5 out now. 10 on the shot clock. Anderson goes into Boone. And we're going the other way. An unforced error off the leg of Caleb Boone and out of bounds.
It's still a 3-possession game in terms of if TCU wants to play fast, they'll get at least 2 more possessions. Obviously, the Cowboys will get 1. But you got to stay aggressive. And again, I don't want to harp on this, but I'd get nervous if I saw a double team coming in my pick and rolls. They haven't been able to exploit attacking it. Spread the floor and let them drive.
Here's Miles. Inside. Samuel dunks.
Oh, man. Good feed inside. Excellent job by Jamie Dixon. Don't listen to me. Run your stuff. And that time they went high and low and got the big fella going.
18 points, 8 rebounds, 6 blocks for number 21 from the Horned Frogs, Kevin Samuel. And he brings the Frogs to within 1.
What do I know? Jamie Dixon's got 417 wins. More now. Tied for 3rd all-time in the history of college basketball. Most wins in his first 17 seasons. Take a look. Great high-low right there. And the finish over Cunningham. Big fella getting it done. Great seal up the lane. Did his work early. And a nice feed over the top from R.J. Nembhard.
While we have this timeout, Fran, let's check in with the boys in the studio.
Yeah, and Rich, we want to let you know Duke Notre Dame about to get underway over on ESPNU. It's the ACC opener for both teams. Duke hasn't been under 500 since the 82-83 season. If they lose tonight, they will fall there. They've just gotten underway over on ESPNU. You'll see it here on ESPN after we go final in Stillwater. Rich.
Thank you, Casey. 82-83, Fran. That's just post Mike Jaminski era.
Well, I'm trying to think. Coach, let's see. Jay Billis graduated in 86, so it was 83, 84, 84, 85. That might have been Jay's freshman year, actually. That might have been the year they lost
with
to
Johnny Dawkins and all those guys.
Yeah, it was Johnny, Mark Oury, David Henderson, Jay. Tommy Amaker came the next year, but that was a very tough year for Duke basketball. Of course, ever since then, Rich, it's been an embarrassment of riches. And I got to tell you, like, I have no doubt that Coach K could care less about the 2 losses last week when he talked about basketball and the pandemic. No doubt in my mind he spoke from the heart.
What is Cade going to do now? Cunningham with the ball. Under 30 seconds to go and his team up 1. Drive, jump stop, no whistle. Here come the Frogs. They take a lead with a bucket.
Good kick out. They passed up shots.
10 seconds to go. The jump shot goes down. R.J. Nembhard.
Rich, that was a terrific possession. It came in transition, so they got Oklahoma State going backwards. They never were set. I thought they passed up a chance to get a shot, but give these kids credit. They moved the ball, and they got, watch the ball movement right here. Todd, they swing it, and then R.J. Nembhard. That is ice water. Big-time ball movement.
A game-high 21 points from R.J. Nembhard, who came in averaging over 17 a game.
Oh, I love it, man. I tell you, I thought they had a chance to shoot it earlier, and in retrospect, that ball sung, and they got it to a guy that you just believe is going to make a shot. And now, tide is turned, because if you're Mike Boynton, you're likely going to put it in the hands of a guy that is going to be a high draft pick. If you're TCU, Rich, I put 5 purple jerseys in the paint. I don't give them an open court, maybe a little fake pressure, but make them shoot a jump shot. And you're going to see another timeout right here to set it up.
That's the final timeout called by TCU. Oklahoma State just 3 for 17 from beyond the arc this night. Well, Cade Cunningham, even though he's just a freshman, 6 games in, already familiar with game-winning scenarios, Fran.
Oh, listen, this kid has been a clutch player his whole career. He did it over the weekend at Wichita State. Now the interesting thing is, if you're TCU, how do you keep him from getting the ball into the paint? If you press full court, you may open up the floor for the Cowboys. If you back it up, a lot of times a player with a running start has the momentum to get by you. So this 7.6 seconds is going to be a real chess match. You see 3/4 court pressure now from the Frogs, but you cannot let the ball get to the paint.
It's in the hands of Cade Cunningham. 5 seconds to go. Cunningham pulls up and misses the jumper. TCU uses a 9-0 run to close this one out and win it on the road. 77-76 over Oklahoma State.
Great defensive possession by TCU. They crowded Cade Cunningham. They kept him from getting to the paint. Watch the jerseys. Watch Nembhard. Nembhard, and I think that's Todd. They soft double team him, but they do not give him the lane and force a tough shot. Tremendous job by Jamie Dixon's team to come into this place and get a win on the road.
Well, tonight's player of the game brought to you by Phillips 66, the guy who hit the game-winning shot, and that would be R.J. Nembhard, who finished with a game-high 21 for TCU, who improves to 6-2 on the season. Well, that'll do it for us here in Stillwater. For my broadcast partner, Fran Fraschilla, and everybody here at ESPN, I'm Rich Hollenberg. TCU wins it by 1. Now we go to Duke, Notre Dame from South Bend.
McBride.